9 out of 10 Mercedes owners are driving a $40,000 car at $20,000 capability. That setting you have never touched? It just saved a driver in Atlanta from a $600 suspension diagnostic bill. That mode buried 3 menus deep. It transformed a C-Class into a completely different car on the same road. Your Mercedes has 13 features that most owners never activate across the entire life of the vehicle. Number 1 has been protecting engines past 300,000 miles. Let us get into it. Number 13. The curve illumination system that lights the road. Before you turn. Most Mercedes owners know their headlights are good. Almost none of them know their headlights are actively steering. The adaptive curve illumination system fitted to most Mercedes models produced after 2015 pivots the headlight beam in the direction of steering input before the car is physically turned. The system reads the steering angle sensor and the vehicle speed simultaneously. It calculates the direction the road is about to go based on your steering input. It begins rotating the headlight beam toward that direction before the vehicle's nose has committed to the turn. The practical result is that the road ahead of a corner is illuminated before you are actually in the corner. The dark zone at the outside of a turn that fixed headlights never reach is the zone that contains the obstacles, the pedestrians, and the road surface changes that cause accidents at night. The curve illumination system eliminates that dark zone before you need to see into it. Most Mercedes owners who discover this system describe it as suddenly realizing their night driving had been operating with a significant blind spot they never knew existed. The system requires no activation. It is active by default on equipped models. Verify it is functioning by observing the headlight beam direction on a familiar bend at night from outside the car, while a second driver takes it slowly around the bend. A functioning system produces a visible beam pivot before the car turns. A fixed beam regardless of steering input indicates the system has been disabled or requires service. The system that was lighting your corners correctly is the same system that was potentially disabled without your knowledge during the last software update. Verify before the next night drive. The next feature is one that most Mercedes owners encounter at the worst possible time and handle incorrectly, because nobody explained what it was actually doing. Number 12. The pre-safe brake system that thinks faster than you do. Pre-safe brake is different from the standard automatic emergency braking that most drivers understand. Standard automatic emergency braking applies the brakes when the system determines a collision is unavoidable. Pre-safe brake operates in 2 stages that most owners have never had explained to them. Stage 1 activates when the system detects a stationary or slow-moving object ahead and calculates that your current speed and trajectory create a collision risk. At this stage, the system pre-fills the brake hydraulics to remove the play from the brake circuit. The brakes are not applied, they are prepared. When you apply the brakes in response to the hazard, the prepared hydraulics deliver maximum deceleration from the first millimeter of pedal travel, rather than from the point where the hydraulic play is taken up. That hydraulic play typically costs between 2 and 4 meters of stopping distance in an emergency. Pre-safe brake eliminates that cost. Stage 2 applies partial braking automatically if your speed is not reduced sufficiently and the collision risk has increased beyond a threshold. Stage 2 is the intervention most drivers notice. Stage 1 is the preparation most drivers never feel, but always benefit from. Make sure you subscribe now and hit the notification bell. Every week we reveal Mercedes features and maintenance secrets that dealerships never cover at handover and that change how safely and efficiently you use the vehicle you're already paying for. The next feature is one that saves Mercedes owners between $200 and $500 every year, and that most owners are paying for unnecessarily because nobody told them the alternative was already in the car. Number 11. The maintenance counter. Reset. You are paying the dealer to do. Every Mercedes has a service indicator system that counts down to the next required maintenance interval. When the counter reaches 0, a workshop reminder appears in the instrument cluster. After any service is completed, this counter requires resetting to begin counting toward the next interval. Most Mercedes owners return to the dealership for this reset as part of the service package. Many dealers charge between $60 and $150 for the reset as a standalone item when owners bring the car in for the indicator alone. The reset takes 45 seconds. It requires no tools. It requires no diagnostic equipment. On most Mercedes models with the MBX system, navigate to the Vehicle Settings menu. Select Service. Select the completed service item. Hold the Confirm button until the counter resets. On older models with the analog instrument cluster, the reset is performed through the instrument cluster menu using the steering wheel controls. The specific button sequence for your exact model and year is in the owner's manual service section and takes 2 minutes to find. A Mercedes E-Class owner from Ohio named Patricia had been returning to her dealer 3 times per year for the service indicator reset at $80 per visit. She discovered the self-reset procedure through an owner forum. $240 per year returned to her pocket for a procedure that takes 45 seconds. The next feature is one that most drivers have experienced activating without understanding what it was doing, and that provides protection in a scenario most people never think about until they are in it. Number 10. The Crosswind Assist that stabilizes the car without any input from you. Highway crosswind events are one of the most startling driving experiences on any vehicle. A sudden gust from a bridge, a gap in a sound barrier, or the turbulence of a passing truck can push a vehicle laterally enough to cause lane departure before the driver has time to consciously react. Mercedes Crosswind Assist addresses this through a system that most owners do not know their car has. The system uses the electronic stability program sensors, the yaw rate sensor, the lateral acceleration sensor, and the steering angle sensor simultaneously to detect the onset of a lateral wind displacement event. When the system identifies a crosswind displacement pattern, it applies a brief, targeted braking force to the wheels on the windward side of the vehicle. The braking force creates a yaw moment that counteracts the lateral push of the crosswind. The car stays in its lane without steering correction from the driver, and without the driver even being aware the intervention occurred in most cases. The intervention is complete within a fraction of a second, and leaves no perceptible trace of the event. A Mercedes GLE owner from Wyoming named Thomas drives regularly through mountain passes where crosswind events are frequent and severe. He describes discovering Crosswind Assist as learning that his car had been protecting him from events he was partially aware of, but had attributed entirely to his own steering corrections. Review your Crosswind Assist status in the driver assistance settings. Confirm it is enabled. The next feature is one that changes the economics of Mercedes ownership significantly, and that most owners are bypassing every time they open the fuel flap. Number 9. The Eco Start Stop Optimization that protects your starter, motor. Mercedes. Eco Start Stop cuts the engine at every traffic stop and restarts it when the brake is released. The system saves measurable fuel in urban driving. It also places the starter motor under use cycle demands that are dramatically higher than a conventional vehicle without the system. What most owners never investigate is that the Eco Start Stop system has a sensitivity adjustment that controls how quickly it shuts the engine off after the vehicle stops. The factory default activates the shutdown within approximately 2 seconds of the vehicle coming to a complete stop. At a slow-moving intersection where traffic is inching forward, the engine may start and stop 6 to 8 times in a single traffic light cycle. Each start-stop cycle is one starter motor engagement event. The starter motor on a Mercedes with Eco Start Stop is a heavy-duty unit designed for high cycle counts. It is not designed for unlimited cycles. Reducing the system's sensitivity through the Eco Settings menu extends the dwell time before shutdown from 2 seconds to 5 or 6 seconds. This single adjustment eliminates the majority of rapid cycling events at slow-moving intersections, while preserving the full fuel-saving benefit at genuine extended stops. A fleet manager from Georgia named Robert manages 18 Mercedes Sprinter vans used for urban delivery. After adjusting the Eco Start-Stop sensitivity on his fleet, his starter motor replacement rate dropped by 60% in the following 18 months. The adjustment costs nothing. The saving in starter motor replacements at $600 each was significant. The next feature is one that most Mercedes owners are operating in its default configuration without knowing that the configuration they are using is the least comfortable version available. Number 8. The Airmatic Suspension Comfort Setting you never knew was adjustable. Mercedes models equipped with Airmatic air suspension offer a suspension tune adjustment that goes beyond the comfort and sport modes visible in Dynamic Select. The base Airmatic damping characteristic within each drive mode is adjustable through the vehicle settings menu on most models produced after 2017. Most owners accept the factory damping baseline within their preferred drive mode and experience the ride quality that results as the fixed characteristic of that mode. The damping baseline within comfort mode can be adjusted on equipped models to a softer setting than the factory default. The adjustment is accessed through the suspension settings section of the vehicle menu rather than through the Dynamic Select Mode selector. The difference between the factory comfort damping baseline and the softest available comfort damping setting is perceptible on urban roads with surface imperfections. The softer setting absorbs the sharp-edged imperfections that the factory comfort setting transmits into the cabin as a brief firmness. A Mercedes S-Class owner from New York named Howard discovered this adjustment after 3 years of describing his car's ride as occasionally firm in a way that seemed inconsistent with the model's reputation. The adjustment resolved the inconsistency he had attributed to road surface quality. The ride quality his car was always capable of had been available since day one. If this video is showing you features in your Mercedes that nobody at the dealership ever mentioned, smash that like button right now. Every like puts this video in front of another Mercedes owner before they spend 3 years driving their car at less than its full capability. The next feature is one that most Mercedes owners have seen activate during night driving and have never correctly understood. Number 7. The High Beam. Assist that manages your lights without any input. Mercedes High Beam Assist activates and deactivates the high beam headlights automatically based on the presence of oncoming traffic and preceding vehicles detected by the front camera system. The system requires a specific stalk position to operate that most owners never select because it is not the position they were taught to use for headlights. The system only activates when the headlight stalk is in the auto position. Drivers who manually switch on their headlights and then manually switch to high beam are bypassing the automatic system entirely and managing beams switching themselves throughout every night drive. The auto stalk position manages the headlight on and off function simultaneously with the high and low beam switching. The practical result is maximum illumination on unlit roads between other vehicles and automatic reduction to low beam when the camera detects oncoming or preceding vehicle lighting. Maximum visibility when you need it without blinding other drivers and without any manual switching required throughout the drive. A driving instructor from Texas named Mark describes high beam assist as the feature that most of his students think they understand, and almost none of them have actually configured correctly. He estimates that fewer than 20% of his Mercedes-owning students have the stalk in the auto position during their first lesson with him. The remaining 80% are manually managing a system their car was designed to manage automatically. Set the stalk to auto on the next night drive. The system handles everything from that point. The next feature is one that affects every passenger in the vehicle and that most owners have never adjusted from its factory setting, despite it being one of the most impactful comfort controls in the entire car. Number 6. The rear compartment. Climate zone. That most owners never configure. Mercedes models with 4-zone climate control have independent temperature and airflow settings for rear passenger positions that most owners never configure separately from the front zones. The rear climate controls are typically operated by the rear passengers through controls in the rear armrest or the rear door panels. What most owners do not know is that the driver can configure the rear zone independently through the MBX climate control panel or the central touchscreen. The driver configuration allows setting a rear zone temperature that differs from the front zone temperature for passenger comfort without requiring rear passengers to locate and operate controls they may be unfamiliar with. On longer journeys with children in the rear seats, pre-configuring the rear zone to a temperature appropriate for sleeping passengers maintains a different climate in the rear than the front occupants require for alert driving. The system also allows the driver to lock the rear zone settings to prevent rear passengers from inadvertently adjusting the climate in ways that affect the front zone HVAC performance. The lock function is in the climate settings menu. It is activated with a single touch. A Mercedes V-Class owner from California named Susan uses this function on every family road trip to maintain her preferred driving temperature in the front while the rear passengers have a warmer setting for sleeping. The function she uses on every drive has been in the vehicle since the day she bought it. She discovered it 18 months into ownership. The next feature is one that most Mercedes owners have triggered by accident at some point and have dismissed as a malfunction before understanding what it was protecting. Number 5. The Valet mode that protects your car. When someone else is driving it, Mercedes Valet mode restricts the vehicle's performance and access to personal data when the car is in the hands of someone other than the primary driver. When Valet mode is active, the vehicle's maximum speed is restricted to a configurable limit. The MBUX system restricts access to stored addresses, calendar data, and call history. The glove box locks independently of the central locking system if equipped with an electric glove box lock. The activation requires a PIN that only the primary driver knows. The vehicle can be driven normally within the configured restrictions. It cannot be driven beyond the speed limit the primary driver has set. It cannot be used to access personal information stored in the infotainment system. A Mercedes GLC owner from Florida named James uses Valet mode every time he leaves his car with a parking attendant at events. He sets the speed restriction to 40 miles per hour and locks the glove box before handing over the key. He has never experienced a personal data concern or a vehicle performance concern at an attended parking event since adopting this practice. The activation procedure is in the vehicle settings menu under security. The PIN is set during the first activation. The next feature is one that changes how the car communicates with you about something most drivers only think about when the warning light has already appeared. Number 4. The tire pressure. Display that shows all 4 readings. Simultaneously, most Mercedes owners check tire pressure with a handheld gauge when the tire pressure warning light appears. The tire pressure monitoring system in your Mercedes displays the actual pressure in all 4 tires simultaneously in real time through the instrument cluster information menu. The display is more accurate than most consumer handheld gauges. It updates continuously as ambient temperature changes, alter the pressure readings. The practical value of the simultaneous 4-tire display extends beyond convenience. A tire that is losing pressure gradually through a slow puncture shows a pressure reading that declines between successive daily checks. A handheld gauge checked monthly misses the gradual decline until the tire is significantly underinflated. The TPMS display checked weekly shows the decline in real time before it reaches the level that triggers the warning light. The warning light threshold is typically 15% below the recommended pressure. A tire at 15% below recommended pressure has already experienced measurably increased wear and reduced handling performance for the period it took to reach that threshold. Checking the TPMS display weekly takes 10 seconds. It provides a complete pressure picture that the warning light never delivers until the problem is already advanced. The next feature is one that most Mercedes owners use occasionally without ever understanding what specifically it is doing to the road ahead and how to get the most out of it. Number 3. The Distronic Plus following distance setting that most owners never adjust. Distronic Plus is Mercedes' adaptive cruise control system that maintains a selected following distance from the vehicle ahead automatically. Most owners who use Distronic set a following distance when they first use the system and never change it again. The following distance setting has 7 levels on most current Mercedes models. Level 1 is the shortest following distance. Level 7 is the longest. The factory default is typically level 3 or 4. What most owners never investigate is that the following distance setting interacts with the system's response speed to vehicles entering the lane ahead. A shorter following distance setting produces a faster speed reduction response when a vehicle cuts in from an adjacent lane. A longer following distance setting produces a more gradual response to the same lane change event, but provides significantly more buffer for unexpected braking by the vehicle ahead. Highway driving and heavy traffic where lane changes are frequent benefits from level 4 or 5. The additional buffer allows the system to manage lane change events without the abrupt deceleration that level 2 or 3 produces. Rural highway driving with sparse traffic and no lane change events benefits from level 2 or 3 where the shorter following distance reduces the tendency of other vehicles to merge into the gap in front. Understanding the interaction between following distance and system response allows Distronic to work with your specific driving environment rather than against it. The next feature is one that protects something inside the vehicle that most owners never consider as a system requiring active protection. Number 2, the interior air quality mode that protects passengers. From outside pollution, Mercedes models with the optional air quality package include a pollution sensor system that monitors the air quality outside the vehicle in real time, when the sensor detects elevated particulate matter or pollutant concentrations outside. The climate system automatically switches to recirculation mode to prevent contaminated external air from entering the cabin. The system returns to fresh air intake when the sensor detects that external air quality has improved. Most owners who have this system do not know it is operating. They observe the climate control switching between fresh and recirculation modes, and assume it is a system malfunction rather than an active air quality management decision. The system is most active in urban traffic, in tunnels, and when following diesel vehicles or vehicles with visible exhaust emissions. It is the specific scenario where external air quality is lowest and where the cabin air protection benefit is highest. Verify the air quality mode is enabled in the climate system settings. On models where it was not factory activated, the setting is in the advanced climate menu. The system that was protecting your passengers on every urban drive is the system most owners have dismissed as a glitch. The next feature is the most impactful entry on this entire list for long-term ownership, and it is the one that Mercedes engineers specifically designed to maximize the lifespan of their highest performance engines. Number 1, the Assyst Plus service system that knows your engine better than any schedule. Mercedes Assyst Plus is the intelligent service interval management system that monitors your actual driving conditions to calculate the correct service interval for your specific usage pattern. Most Mercedes owners follow a fixed mileage interval for oil changes, regardless of what Assyst Plus is indicating. This is the most expensive maintenance mistake available to a Mercedes owner. Assyst Plus tracks engine load history, oil temperature cycling frequency, cold start frequency, short trip accumulation, and sustained high-load driving time simultaneously. It calculates the remaining useful life of the engine oil based on what the oil has actually experienced, rather than what an average oil in an average car experiences on an average schedule. An engine used primarily for short, cold-weather urban trips accumulates oil degradation per mile at a rate significantly higher than the fixed schedule accounts for. An engine used primarily for warm-weather highway driving accumulates degradation at a rate the fixed schedule significantly overestimates. Assyst Plus produces the correct interval for your specific engine in your specific conditions. Following it rather than a fixed schedule means changing oil precisely when it needs changing. Not 1,000 miles early based on a conservative fixed recommendation. Not 2,000 miles late because the fixed schedule does not account for your specific driving conditions. A Mercedes C63 AMG owner from Colorado named Thomas has driven his car to 240,000 miles, following Assyst Plus recommendations exclusively. His oil changes have varied between 4,200 miles and 9,100 miles depending on the season and driving pattern. Both intervals were correct for the conditions that produced them. His engine at 240,000 miles shows internal wear that his independent specialist describes as exceptional for the mileage. The Assyst Plus display is in the Instrument Cluster Information menu. Check it monthly. Follow it without adjustment. It knows more about your engine's current condition than any fixed schedule ever will. Hey, thanks for watching. If this video just revealed features in your Mercedes that have been sitting unused since the day you drove it off the lot, let us know in the comments which one surprised you most and which one you are activating this week. Want to see the 13 hidden Mercedes features that most owners never discover across the entire ownership period, including the one that dealerships have a financial incentive to never mention? Click on the video on the left. And if you do not want to miss more Mercedes feature guides and maintenance secrets that give you the complete ownership, knowledge the dealership walkthrough never delivered, hit that subscribe button right now.